Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 3. Today we'll be discussing Smackdown review from last week, June 13th. We'll be discussing Goldberg's return on Monday Night Raw. We'll also be discussing Jey Uso winning the qualifying match to get to the final 4 of the King of the Rings tournament, and he'll be challenging Cody Rhodes next Monday night, leading into Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia on June 28th, live on Peacock. We also discuss what I think is going to happen with John Cena and CM Punk at Night of Champions, and what I predict could lead to a match at SummerSlam. People may not agree with me, it's outside the box, but it came in my head and I'm going to just discuss it. We're also going to discuss tonight's John Cena versus R-Truth match. Also tonight, we are going to discuss Sami Zayn versus Randy Orton in the final 4 of the King of the Rings. Winner will move on to Saudi Arabia to challenge the winner of Cody Rhodes versus Jey Uso. So, I also want to discuss that yesterday was my birthday, my 29th birthday, which was a really good birthday. Went out to lunch with my grandparents, got some gifts from my family. It was a very nice day, very warm weather in New York. It's very warm today. So yeah, it was a nice day yesterday. So, but we're gonna get into this episode shortly. Please subscribe, please like, comment, add any insight to what you think of the episodes. And I appreciate all the time and the effort that anybody does to watch this episode. Yet again, I would like to give another shout out to my best friend Joey, who has helped me create some of the smaller videos that I post on TikTok and on YouTube Shorts. We are on TikTok, we are on Instagram, we are on Spotify, we are on YouTube. Most likely, if you're watching this, it's going to be on YouTube. So, the Sideline Suplex is the tag. The Sideline Suplex on TikTok, on Spotify, on Instagram. But thank you, everybody, that listens to these episodes. I do really appreciate it. This is episode number 3. I will have another episode this Wednesday coming up, which will be episode 4, which will discuss sports. And on Fridays, we'll be discussing wrestling. So I do appreciate everybody's time and effort. A lot of our short videos are getting a lot of views, which I really appreciate. And these are getting nice views as well for a startup podcast. So I appreciate everybody watching. So, like, subscribe, comment. Thank you guys. We'll get into this very shortly. Thanks, guys. Let's get right into the review for SmackDown this last Friday. I started off really hot with John Cena coming out, interrupted by Cody Rhodes, then interrupted by Randy Orton, and then interrupted by LA Knight. Thought it was a very good start to SmackDown. He teased what upcoming could happen. Randy Orton could challenge for the world title again, and he said he'll go through anybody, even Cody Rhodes, which everybody I know would love to see that match. I think that's more of a WrestleMania match. I think a heel Randy Orton versus a babyface Cody Rhodes would be an amazing WrestleMania marquee match between them two, and I think that's exactly where it needs to be, not a tournament for the world title. Definitely think that match will definitely happen within the next year. Rumors had said that it was supposed to happen the year Cody Rhodes won the world title off of Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40, but they decided to go with Cody because of the crowd reaction, and I just think that would be a great match. After that, when John Cena bailed out of the ring, after each man said that they were coming after him, LA Knight got another huge pop. I thought he should have won Money in the Bank, which he didn't, which is a shame. That's his 3rd chance to win that. I don't know if he's ever gonna be a world champion in WWE. Maybe eventually. He's in his 40s already, but he's over as Grover. So he's amazing, and he just needs to be pushed properly. He's white hot. He's always been white hot. I just wish they would put him in a better position. I think they're going to do CM Punk and LA Knight versus the two guys from Seth Rollins' group, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. I personally think that CM Punk should be doing something else at SummerSlam, and I have a theory on what he could be doing that I'll say in a few minutes. But as Cena was leaving the ring, he bailed out of the ring, and Ron Killings came in and attacked him. And that's not the first time that happened in SmackDown of last week, which now they're set up for this Friday, which is tonight, to battle. And I think Ron Killings doesn't win, but I think he has a good showing. I think Cena needs to win if it's non-title, which is good. I'm happy they're going back to make sense of that. John Cena had a very funny backstage interaction with Nick Aldis that they didn't show the audio, which would have been great. I don't know how Nick Aldis stayed in character because Cena looked like an absolute idiot and he had a hat on backwards. It was just amazing. Cena did come back out and called out Ron Killings after he had a backstage segment with Jimmy Uso asking for him, and Jimmy said he didn't see him. And even if he did, he wouldn't tell him. But then Punk came out instead of Ron Killings and CM Punk. I think it was one of the weakest CM Punk promos that I've heard in a while. I don't like the dynamic of a face CM Punk and a heel John Cena. For me, I don't feel nothing. And John Cena is forcing Punk to come to Saudi Arabia and battle for the world title, which he has stated in the past that he would never do that. So in a heel sense, John Cena is taking him and making him do something that he doesn't want to do. But tell me if you agree with me or disagree with me on this. I have a funny feeling that Ron Killings loses tonight, and he hates John Cena so much that he goes to Saudi Arabia to cost Cena the world title, and he accidentally hits CM Punk with the title, and Cena beats Punk, and that's how you get Punk and Ron Killings for SummerSlam, which would be a very good match. I know there's rumors that it's supposed to be Randy Orton and Ron Killings, but you could go do that a different pay-per-view. You could do something else with Randy Orton. Right now, I don't know what they would do with Randy Orton, so maybe it makes more sense for Randy Orton and Ron Killings to face. But me personally, how cool would that be? Ron Killings is so crazy that he wants to just take everything away from John Cena, and he costs CM Punk. And then you could go back to Cena versus Punk one more time at a different pay-per-view, maybe in Berlin, Bash at Berlin in I think October they are there. You could go to that. I know John Cena's already scheduled for that, so you could eventually go back to that. Another thing is they could do with CM Punk is they could make CM Punk LA Knight, CM Punk LA Knight, Sami Zayn's, whatever. The three of them versus Seth Rollins' group, or Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn's spot. They have so many little things that they can move around. So it's interesting to see. I'm very curious what everybody else thinks. But that's my theory on that. After the first promo of John Cena, LA Knight, Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton pinned LA Knight after Carmelo Hayes was going for his finisher, and he hit him with an RKO on top of LA Knight after LA Knight got speared by Braun Breaker, because on Monday LA Knight cost them their opening match of the King of the Rings tournament. So they were repaying him. Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker were both on SmackDown. So it looks like that's where the direction that they are going. It could be one-on-one LA Knight versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. But the big question is, when is Roman Reigns coming back? And when Roman Reigns comes back, it's most likely one-on-one Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns, with most likely Roman Reigns going over, which is fine if he goes over at SummerSlam, because he has the briefcase, Seth Rollins, so he could just lose on night one, and then night two he wins the world title. Or night two is Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins wins the title night one, and then that becomes a title match, and then he defends the title, which would be cool, because you would get 3 title defenses in a weekend, which would be really interesting. You'd have Gunther face whoever, and then you would have Cena versus Cody. In my opinion, that's what the direction they're going, with or without Cody Rhodes winning the tournament. And then you do if that's the match, you're probably doing that night 2. That's probably closing night 2. But if they don't go that direction, and let's say they go a different direction, then I'm saying, and it's Gunther versus Sami, and Sami Zayn wins the world title. And then Seth Rollins cashes in on him, a la Daniel Bryan. Then that's night one, and then night two is Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins semi-main event to Cody Rhodes and John Cena, and then that's a world title match. You would assume if he won the title on night one that they would just go and make that a world title match, which would be interesting. So that's another thing they could go with. And then there was to close the night. So Randy Orton advanced. So now Randy Orton is in one bracket, Sami Zayn's on another bracket. They're going to be facing each other. And then on the opposite side of the bracket, then Cody Rhodes at the end of the night, he beat Nakamura, hit Nakamura. So we got an interesting Final Four. So we'll see who's going to be advancing and who's going to be challenging who. I have a funny feeling the finals is going to be Cody Rhodes versus Sami Zayn. They could also go Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, which I really don't think it's a good idea to do that. I really don't. I think that you do that for the first time with this new Cody Rhodes, because they faced in the past, but that was when they were with Legacy, and that was an old Cody Rhodes and a very young Randy Orton. Now they're both very established superstars, but I think you go with that. I think you go with that as a heel Orton. You could do something where Cody's the champion. Maybe he regains the title some way, somehow. Maybe they don't go with the theory I stated in part 1, episode 1. Seth Rollins cashing in on Cody Rhodes after Cody Rhodes beats John Cena. Maybe what they do is Cody Rhodes just beats John Cena, and John Cena goes back babyface, and you get that for the last few months of his career. And then Cody Rhodes is just moving ahead, and Randy Orton wins Elimination Chamber. And that's the way they go with that. And on the other side, it's Sami Zayn winning the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia in front of his people. So that's the way they could go with that. I don't know where they go with Gunther after all of this, after he faces Bill Goldberg, in my opinion, at Saturday Night's main event. So it's going to be very interesting. Be very, very interesting. Coming up soon, we'll talk about what happened on Monday Night Raw and what I'm looking forward to tonight's Smackdown. Alright, so Goldberg returned on Monday Night Raw this past week, which I predicted the first episode. I think everybody in the world that watches wrestling knew he was coming back and he was going to get a world title shot. Once Gunther won, I knew that's the direction that they were going. It was always going to be Gunther versus Goldberg for his final match. And it's in Atlanta, Georgia, so the writing was on the wall. He's from Georgia. He played for the Atlanta Falcons in the NFL. So it just made sense for him to have his final match there. My fear is Goldberg wins the title, and then they do like him vacating the title on Monday Night Raw or something as a celebration, and then they do like a small semi-tournament to get the world champion at SummerSlam. I think that would be very stupid. I think Gunther should win. First of all, it doesn't even make a lot of sense for Goldberg to get a world title shot when he hasn't even wrestled in like 3 years, and his last 3 matches, I believe, were world title matches that he lost. So none of it really actually makes any sense. I wish they would have done something that would have made sense. I believe Bully Ray said what they could have done was Gunther could have came out and said, whoever comes out there, I'll face at Saturday's night's main event. So anybody, I don't care if you work here or you don't work here, come out here and you could get a championship opportunity. And then Goldberg would have came out and he would have gotten the opportunity. That would have made sense. He has done nothing to get a title opportunity. I mean, John Cena had to work to get a title opportunity. He had to go through the Royal Rumble, which he lost, and then he had to go into the Elimination Chamber, which he won. So that made sense for Cena to have to work to it, because he hasn't won a match in he didn't win like a singles match in like over 3,000 days. When is the last time Goldberg won a singles match? Vince McMahon was still in charge the last time he won a singles match. So it's pathetic. That's just the direction that they're going and the way that they're going. They could have made it They could have made it make sense, but they decided to not do it. He didn't even need to compete in the match to get it. Gunther could have just said, I'm challenging the next person that comes down here. I'm giving you an opportunity at the world title. And that's the way they could have went with it, but they didn't go that direction. Everyone and their mother knows that Goldberg and Gunther's match is going to go 5 to 8 minutes. The guy's going to sweat like a pig. I mean, the guy can't even walk. He hurt both of his hamstrings training. He made a stupid comment this past week on a podcast stating that he is, at 58 years old, he is still better than 99% of people, which is bullshit. Goldberg, you are not good in the ring. You have 2 moves. It's a spear and a jackhammer. That's all you have. That's the only thing you could do. Maybe he'll throw a clothesline in. Maybe he'll do some move in the corner. But in reality, he has 2 moves. It's a spear and a jackhammer and a 1-2-3. And I'm afraid that they're going to make Gunther lose to Goldberg, which would be the stupidest fucking thing in the world. It would be dumb to do that. It would be the stupidest shit. They need to make Bill Goldberg look up at the lights in his final match. That's what they need to do. He needs to look up into the lights. You know, Shawn Michaels' final match before he came out of retirement, he was looking up into the lights. You know, so, you know, he needs to be... That's the number one thing you do in wrestling is when you're going out and it's your last match, 9 times out of 10, you're looking up into the lights. That's the way your career ends for most guys. Stone Cold, his final match, he lost to The Rock. But then he came out of retirement and then he beat KO. But here's what I'm saying. It's like both the scenarios I just said, Stone Cold and Shawn Michaels, their final matches. They were looking up into the lights. Years and years later, they came out of retirement. So, majority guys look up into the lights. So I think that's what they need to do with Bill Goldberg, is he needs to look up into the lights. Cannot win this world title. He cannot win the World Heavyweight Championship. He cannot do that. That just is stupidity at its finest. But this is WWE, and they're more about making moments and making money. And AEW has their pay-per-view All In that day. And what do you think is going to be the bigger storyline? Bill Goldberg wins his final match as World Heavyweight Champion, or AEW? Because if Goldberg loses, it is what it is. No big story. AEW would be the big story of the day. But if Bill Goldberg wins that world title, that's going to take over the wrestling world. Everyone's going to forget about AEW for that day. And WWE's going to get exactly what they want. Exactly what they want. They want the headlines that day. And that's the reason why I see Goldberg winning. It would be the most idiotic thing if Goldberg won and then Seth cashed in on him. Like, that is so pathetic. Because you could use this briefcase for so many other amazing things. Like, now let me transition into that. How we just ended on Monday Night Raw. Jey Uso advanced, and now he's facing Cody Rhodes next Monday. And Seth Rollins comes out to attack Jey Uso, and Cody Rhodes made the save, and that's now leading up until suspicions on what could happen. Now Cody versus Jey. Cody's probably going to win, and then now it looks like if Cody wins the tournament, Seth Rollins may cash in on him. So now it makes things a lot more intriguing. And I predicted that episode 1, which I have over 5,000 views on my YouTube short of that prediction. And how it makes the most sense. And it's still, in my mind, it makes the most sense is Cody Rhodes winning and Seth Rollins taking everything away from him and beating him and being the villain. You know, Seth Rollins lost everything at WrestleMania. he turned into this evil character on TV, and he wants everything for himself. He wants everything for himself because everything was taken away from him. Who was it taken away for? It was taken away so he can help Cody Rhodes win the WWE Championship. The championship his father never had. Seth Rollins is the key part of that title, winning and helping him win. So for him, and he lost everything. Tag team with Cody Rhodes the night before to face The Rock and Roman Reigns, and then he had a world title. He had his World Heavyweight Championship match the following night against Drew McIntyre, and because he was so beat down from that match, it caused him issues in the World Heavyweight title match, and he lost his title, and then he sacrificed himself for Cody Rhodes to take a steel chair shot from Roman Reigns, a la The Shield, and that helped him and distracted Roman Reigns, and it helped Cody Rhodes hit the crossroads once, twice, 3 times, and he finished the story. And now it's Seth's story. And Seth's story is going to take that title from Cody. He's going to take that title from Cody. And that's his validation for losing everything at WrestleMania 40. He scratched and clawed and scratched and clawed and scratched and clawed. And it all goes in together. It all fits in together like a puzzle piece. Paul Heyman turning on Roman Reigns and CM Punk and aligning him with Seth Rollins. The Money in the Bank win. Who took everything away from Paul Heyman? Cody Rhodes did. So why wouldn't Paul Heyman put into Seth Rollins' head, let's take everything away from Cody? Who took everything away from Seth Rollins? It was the actions of what he did for Cody that took everything away from him. Cody is to blame for him losing that title. He's to blame for that. He's to blame for that. So, I think Cody Rhodes wins WWE Championship at SummerSlam from John Cena. And then you hear Seth Rollins' music and he cashes in. He wins the WWE Championship. That's what I predict is going to happen, and I'm standing by it. It makes sense. The entire storyline makes the most sense. Paul Heyman got his stuff taken away from Cody. In a way, Cody Rhodes took everything away from Seth because he sacrificed himself to make sure Cody finished his story. They went from bitter rivals to allies, back to rivals in this situation that I'm predicting. And Seth Rollins has never beaten Cody this time around. He's never beaten him. He lost to him 3 times. He lost to a Cody Rhodes with a torn pec in a Hell in a Cell match. It writes itself. It completely writes itself. It makes the most logical sense of everything in this situation for him to win the WWE title. Win the WWE title off of Cody Rhodes and take away everything Cody Rhodes fought to get back. He fought to take the title back from the man that turned on him, the man that sold his soul to join with The Rock, and then he fought and fought to get it back. And then when he gets it back, he gets it taken away from him by Seth Rollins, the man that helped him get it in the first place. And Paul Heyman lost everything because of Cody Rhodes. He lost everything because of Cody Rhodes. Now Seth Rollins is able to give Paul Heyman everything he lost. Everything he lost. He lost his tribal chief because of Cody Rhodes. Because of Cody Rhodes. And now Seth Rollins takes everything back from Cody Rhodes. And that's my prediction on that. That's my 100% prediction on what I think is going to happen. Next, we'll be talking about Smackdown tonight and what I'm looking forward to. Stay tuned for that. Alright, guys, so we got Randy Orton versus Sami Zayn tonight in the final four of the King of the Ring men's tournament. It should be a very, very good match. I'm looking forward to the match. I'm very torn on who I see winning this match because both guys deserve this opportunity. Both guys I could see at Saudi Arabia facing the winner of Cody Rhodes versus Jey Uso. In my opinion, Cody Rhodes will win and move on to Saudi on Monday night. But for tonight, I think that they're probably going to go with something with Sami and have him win because the fans love him in Saudi Arabia. I wish they would have just done what they used to do in the past and had both semi-finals matches match up at the King of the Ring pay-per-view and then move on to the finals on the same night. But they're not doing that. They're having this match tonight. I could see it really going either way, but if I had to predict, I'm going with Sami Zayn advancing and moving on to Saudi Arabia. That's my prediction. And then I see Sami winning it, and then Cody still getting the opportunity at John Cena at SummerSlam, which I discussed what I see happening in the segment before in this episode. But yes, that's my prediction on everything that's going to be happening tonight. And then we have R-Truth and John Cena, which I already discussed in this episode, and I told you what I think. So, I'm very much looking forward to tonight's episode, and I wonder how it's going to be played out. SmackDowns are moving back on July 4th to 2 hours, which is great. That's what they need. But as far as this episode, that will conclude this episode today. This weekend coming up, I'm going to Fanatic Fest. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm going Saturday and Sunday. I didn't pay to meet anybody, but I am going there just to see everything and see how everything is and just have fun. But if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, please like, please leave a comment, and tell me what you think. Tell me what you think is going to happen at SummerSlam. Please tell me what you think is going to happen with Goldberg and Gunther, and what's going to happen with Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes this Monday night, and how you are looking forward to SummerSlam, the lead to SummerSlam, and whatever else you are looking forward to with WWE. But thank you again for anyone who's listening up to this point, and please like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you guys. Have a great weekend.